Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wonderside comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Unspoken Issues.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unspoken Issues podcast. We are nearing the end of Black September here as we roll through the reboot of the Ultraverse titles in the Marvel Universe. We've talked about all of the lead up to the big throwdown between Nemesis and the rest of the Ultraforce along with the Avengers. Now we're experiencing some of the leftover stories or stories that are kind of beginning anew what this new universe is going to look like. So
some of these seem like they take place concurrently with Ultraverse Avengers, Ultraforce Avengers.
Right. I mean, going into this, I didn't know what exactly to expect as far as, because I hadn't read them before, but I felt like us counting up to Black September, I thought, okay, well, this is going to be a big event that happens, and once we reach the countdown, it'll be like a new universe is out there. And we would just pick up starting stories from that universe. But yeah, just like you said, our first issue that we're going to talk about is going to be Black September Infinity. I know that you said you're in the process of doing a reread or maybe reading some of the new stuff for the first time. I don't know. Were you reading in the middle of this event? Were you picking everything up?
At the time that these came out, no, I was out. But
I got you.
I've been reading once I completed my Ultraverse collection, I think I've got all of the story issues, like everything relevant to the story of the Ultraverse, basically. Maybe a year and a half ago, I started reading from the beginning and reading them. I have like a list that I got out of the Ultraverse group that is supposed to be kind of the order they were all released in chronologically, so I've just been reading them in order. I was at this point in my reread when you brought up doing this Black September thing for the podcast, so it kind of worked out pretty well as far as that goes. Some of these I've read before. It seems like it's the first time I've read them. Maybe I read them when I picked them up out of a dollar bin 15 years ago. But a lot of this stuff that we're reading in this Black September thing feels new to me anyway.
Right. Well, our last issue was Ultraforce Avengers. What I believe happened at the end, I'm looking at it here to make sure I remember correctly. Universes are being born or reborn because of this Nemesis wave that was unleashed. By the end, it seemed like the universes were just going to go on about their way. Like the Ultraforce and the Avengers were separated, and they couldn't even remember the event that happened.
Right, and it seemed like at the end of that second issue, we see the new Ultraforce with, Black Knight is with them, and Bob Campbell is prototype, no Jimmy Reyes. And it seems like, this is the new beginning. All that crossover stuff is done. Yeah. We're going to start fresh. But that's not really how it plays out in these Infinity issues. I guess they were kind of designed as a bridge between maybe the big crossover issues and the new Ultraverse stuff. They're pretty convoluted, these stories we're talking about today.
Yeah. So I know you just kind of said, like, you were thinking this issue that we're getting ready to get into, it's probably one of those ones that are happening concurrently, right? While this stuff is...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It seems like it's in this different world where Warstrike is like this, King. It's almost has like a feel of those God Wheel issues in a separate plane of existence. One thing that's interesting about this Black September Infinity issue is almost all of these are characters that we don't see again ever, I think, in the Ultraverse. These are leftovers that didn't make it past the Marvel reboot, Sludge and Choice. Hard Case isn't in here, but he doesn't show up in the Ultraverse Marvel era until very late in that run. The Strangers, a bunch of these characters. One of the main characters, Solitaire. And so it seems like these are all the guys, some of whom have even died. Like there are some Exiles characters in this issue that died in the Exiles series. So yeah, it's like this is what happened to all the characters who didn't make it to the new universe.
All right, let me lay out our credits here. I've got a couple notes on some of the people that contributed. Sure. So again, this is Black September Infinity. And folks, it's not too hard to spot an Infinity issue out there in the wild. It's going to be a completely black cover with the title and the corner box, and that's about it. There's nothing else that's going to be distinctful. That's not a word. Distinguishing. There's not going to be much distinguishing features other than the fact that it's a completely black cover, which is unique in itself. So,
well, now, yeah, that is interesting, and most of the ones I have are actually I've got about half and half. I think are the black covers, but there are alternate covers. I think it says in one of the editors' pages inside the issues, I think it was 20 or 30% had these normal covers, like picture covers.
Oh, okay.
And if you look on the back of, I'm assuming you read these online.
Yeah. So
I have the physical issues. So the front of the standard issues are black with the logo and the price tag in the corner and everything. And on the back, there is a kind of a picture cover.
Yeah. Okay.
Of pencil. And the variants are the same as the back cover with the pencil art, except they have this digital coloring that they reference in that editor's section. It's the same guy, I forget his name, but it's the same guy who did the Flare Marvel card. You got the excerpt here. It says, for September, all regular covers will be solid black except for the logos and the new $1.50 price tag. 20% of the print run will have a special variant with amazing computer-painted art by hot Fleer/Flare artist Chuck Maiden.
Chuck Maiden, okay.
So I guess he did that Flare series, and he does these covers with the painted stuff.
And there's a lot of them for this Black September Infinity issue. The title of the story, The Nanosecond the Earth Stood Still, was on sale September 28th, 1995. Our creative team, sit back and relax. It's Chris Ulm, Gerald De Victoria, and Phil Crane with the concept. We have Gerald De Victoria with the plot, Dan Donko with the dialogue. Shuriken chapter pages 10 through 17 is Roland Mann. He's writing that part, I think is what they're saying. And then our pencilers are MC Wyman, Keith Conroy, Stephen Butler, and Gabriel Gecko. Inkers, Bob Petrecka, Larry Welch, Thomas Florimonte, Scott Reed, and Steve Moncuse. Lettered by Vicky Williams. Color design by Curtis Fujita and Ashley Posella. If you look on Mike's Amazing World of Comics, they only give Dan Danko the credit here for writing. So I looked at what he had done just to kind of piece it out. He's only got 22 story credits on Mike's Amazing World, which is a pretty small amount.
I think they were probably mostly Ultraverse.
Yeah, he's the main guy behind Warstrike. He started on January 1st, 1994. This is actually his last issue that Mike's Amazing World credits him. I don't think he does anything past this Black September Infinity issue that gets credited. And then penciled by MC Wyman. I know he's one of the many pencilers that's there. He's got 79 credits. Started March 15th of 1991. He has a small run on Thor between 475 to 489. It's about a year. And then sort of becomes Marvel's Ultraverse guy, as we're going to hear more about him in this salvo of Infinity issues. We got a lot of characters. You have Amber Hunt. Short story on her. I believe she was part of the Exiles and then ends up accidentally killing them. Is that what happened?
That's, pretty much.
She doesn't do it on purpose. I think It's something to do with the jumpstart effect, isn't it?
Yeah, she kind of tries to activate her powers because part of the Exiles thing was they would find people that had this gene that, if activated, could give them could kind of activate their
The theta virus.
Yeah. And she tries to do it on her own, and it makes a big explosion. That kind of jump starts, no pun intended, the Breakthrough crossover, first big Ultraverse crossover.
Okay.
It took place about a little less than a year after the launch. I don't think she was seen again after that until this, and then she becomes a big part of all new Exiles, in the Marvel era.
Yeah, I mean, she was obviously traumatized in some way because when we find her at the beginning of this, she's feral, pretty much. We then have Warstrike. So Warstrike is alive here. He's a king, a bit of a despot, but we find out that he's influenced by somebody by the name of Necromantra. I don't know much about Necromantra. Do you have any idea?
Let me delve into the reaches of my brain to remember how Necromantra came about. I forget which characters it were, but they were trying to... Basically, they magically impregnated Mantra.
Okay.
And I don't think she technically physically had the baby, but the baby was born and then aged up quickly, and that's what became Necromantra. That body was possessed by one of Mantra's enemies.
Okay, all right.
It was also pretty convoluted.
And then we have Solitaire, a guy by the name of Nicholas Lone. Do not know much about this guy. You know anything about Solitaire going into this?
Yes, Solitaire is really cool. He's one of my favorite Ultraverse characters from the early days, and had a really good, one of the better Ultraverse titles, I think, in that first year or two. He's got a rich and powerful dad who gave him, these powers where he, has this nanotech that kind of, heals him instantly. He's almost like Bloodshot in that sense. His dad's a bad guy, and he decides to be a good guy. He's got a network of other characters that help him fight the power and whatnot. But it was a good book.
Okay. Well, speaking of a network of people to fight the power, we have Shuriken. Very little, actually, about her online, at least in the few spots that I normally would look. You know much about Shuriken?
The name I know, but I can't remember what book she was associated with. Maybe The Solution.
Born in the small village of Ohara outside of Kyoto, she was trained by her father, Katsumi Shidara, alongside her brother Koji in martial and Chinese fighting arts. Her world shattered when a Yakuza faction murdered Katsumi, sending Kyoko on a path that bridged two cultures and many loyalties. Leaving Japan, Kyoko immigrated to America and entered the world of clandestine violence, not as a cold killer, but as a protector. Although she worked for the powerful Morgan Enterprises, she drew the line at murder, instead becoming a bodyguard, infiltrator, and agent forced to navigate the moral gray between justice and obligation. The character of Shuriken was self-published by Victory Productions by Reggie Byers. After her first series, she was published by Eternity Comics, then Malibu. Byers sold his rights to Malibu Comics in 1988, who published Shuriken semi-periodically in various miniseries and one-shots. And then we kind of just go over what I just said. She went into many adventures. It's unknown if she is the same character Shuriken that appeared in the Ultraverse.
Well, now, if she was associated with Malibu...
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they use her?
I wonder if that was just the case of, we've got this character we can throw in here, even though... Maybe she didn't appear in the Ultraverse issues before.
When you look at... That is not it. Let me grab this real quick. I assume this is probably from the Victory. Let's see if I can click on that and get a larger view.
Yeah.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondersight's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's Wonder20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
And that's similar. I mean, she's got right. This is Eternity Comics, my bad. But yeah, okay. Anyway, and seriously, there isn't much anything else on her that I could find. So I thought she definitely in this book has a tie to Solitaire. There's a romantic tie anyway, which again, we're dealing with an alternate universe. Anything's possible. Alternate histories, whatever.
Yeah. Ash showed up in the last issue we talked about in the Mighty Magnor.
Right.
So.
Okay. I mean, before I get into the synopsis of the issue, you got anything else you want to say? Here we go. All right. So, the tale begins like a myth, evoking images of a lone knight standing against the chaos with a flaming sword. Yeah, a little nod to our previous action with Black Knight there. But the story quickly reveals itself to be far more than a fable. The legend is alive in the present, and as the Infinity Gems fracture in a violent explosion, scattering across the cosmos. Among them, the Reality Gem descends upon a young woman named Amber Hunt, binding itself to her as its host. Though Amber resists, the gem insists their fates are tied together, revealing that time itself is broken, and only by reuniting the time gem can existence be saved. Against her will, Amber becomes the reluctant bearer of power, hurled into a war where reality is fragile and ever-shifting. Her journey soon brings her to the decaying rule of Warstrike, the self-proclaimed king of New L.A., a tyrant corrupted by Necromantra's influence. While his daughter Jamie dreams of a fiery woman destined to change their world, Amber crashes into his domain, captured and paraded before the throne. Warstrike sees her as a threat, while Nicholas... This is Solitaire. Once his ally, now disillusioned, begins to believe prophecy may be unfolding. Outside the walls, rebellion stirs, led by Shuriken and a host of dangerous outcasts determined to overthrow Warstrike's oppressive reign. As their forces clash with the kings, the castle becomes the battleground where prophecy, power, and rebellion intertwine. The fighting reaches its peak as Amber's presence ignites conflict from within. Shuriken strikes down Necromantra, Nicholas duels Warstrike, and Jamie reveals she carries the time gem. Her visions have been proven prophetic. When Amber explains that only by uniting the two gems can reality endure, Jamie resists, clinging to her father, yet at Warstrike's urging, she surrenders the gem, allowing Amber to claim both and accept the role destiny has thrust upon her. With no time to waste, Amber departs for the heart of the collapsing multiverse, leaving the rebels and Warstrike's broken kingdom behind. In the cosmic void, Amber faces Nemesis herself, fragmented and poised to release the destructive waves of energy. Chosen because of her attunement to primal forces, Amber channels the combined might of the reality and time gems to contain the devastation. Her body racked with pain, she screams against the torrent of power, yet refuses to break. In a burst of light, the Nemesis waves dissolve into harmless energy, except for one. But reality is preserved, so we don't have a big cataclysm on our hands here. Like the Knight of the Legend, Amber has stood alone against the impossible, birthing a new dawn. But as the universe stabilizes, she is left weakened and anguished, her sacrifice unseen by those she saved. All right, so let me tell you what the biggest hurdle Marvel's Malibu, whatever it's going to be, Marvel's Ultraverse, Marvel's Malibu imprint, I think is has in front of it. And that is the fact that there's a lot of characters that you probably want to learn about. And if you are picking this issue up off the stands and it's your first issue, you're going to be lost.
Not a good jumping on.
Do not jump on now. Oh, no.
These should be the issues that you're like, hey, if you haven't tried Ultraverse before, haven't been interested, now we got Marvel on it. They're behind this. You can grab an issue of these new Marvel Ultraverse books and
get right to it.
And not know what the fuck is going on.
And some of the issues we're going to talk about do it a little bit better than others. This one is a tough one to be like, okay, hey, there was a big thing that happened. You know all these characters, right? Oh, okay, good. Here you go. Here's the issue. I'll let you speak. Go ahead.
Oh, that was pretty much it. I was just saying, this is the opposite of new reader friendly. I've been reading these Ultraverse books for a year and a half or so, and I'm confused as hell by a lot of stuff that's going on in these Infinity issues.
All right, let me get my notes out of the way here. As far as the issue goes, I knew there was going to be some. We're just coming out of Nemesis, the Nemesis waves. Black September is in full throw. How are we going to start things? Well, the feel that I got here, I'm going to liken it to something that happened recently, and that is Secret Wars. I'm talking about like the most recent Secret Wars.
The Jonathan Hickman.
When that hit, all the storylines that took place in different battle worlds. So each battle world had its own thing. And that was the idea I got here. They don't really designate why this universe is happening, other than it might be an offshoot, and it's not supposed to be here. Amber is trying to get things back on track. That isn't explicitly shown either. She shows up here. She's like, I got to get this gem, and then I got to take it somewhere. And then whatever happens, happens. What happens in this issue feels very inconsequential because it's just one of those what-if stories that gets wiped away. Next note is Lord Pumpkin gets the boot. What, is he in a couple panels, if that? Warstrike kicks him in the face. I think Necromantra, as far as I got her motivation, she was evil. She was kind of like the... was it the King of Gondor who was being influenced by the witch? That guy, I can't remember, in The Lord of the Rings. Anyway, that's kind of, his advisor. Wormtongue, yes. He was sitting there corrupting him, and that's kind of the idea we got here. I didn't know much about Solitaire at all. I didn't know that's who I had right here at the beginning of the book, which probably would have been a cool reveal. But then in the middle of the book, you find out that's who he is, I believe. We get an appearance by Sludge and his friends. I thought I put the link down here, but there was a link to the synopsis of this book and all of the characters that pop up in it. And my last note was there has to be a ton of cameos here that, unfortunately for me, are flying over my head. But I'm sure an Ultraverse guy is going to be like, oh, there's that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy. Because the list on that fandom page was massive. Like, they were listing everybody. You mentioned Choice, which is no one I knew, or at least not that I remember. Choice was on that list. There were other people on that list. I recognized Sludge immediately. The gangster that hangs out with Lord Pumpkin from the Ultraforce cartoon, I feel like he was in here for a quick second too, but anyway, that's all my notes that I had here. You have the floor.
We're just focusing on the cameos. There's the big 2-page spread where they're about to attack Warstrike's castle. And that's when we see a whole bunch of these. We see members of the Freaks, members of the Solution, the Exiles, Choices there. Some of the bad guys from the Solution. I can see them in the crowd.
I know.
There's one of Prime's enemies, Planet Class was his name. And then also is Goku.
Yeah. So, okay. That was a name that was on the list of those people. Yeah. I wasn't paying attention, obviously, because I would have recognized Goku. When I was looking at the list of cameos, I thought somebody linked something wrong. I was like, there's no way that's Goku. So Goku is in the audience or in the crowd. Oh, it's crazy.
It's like, hey, well, just let him handle it.
I was going to say, just step back, let him scream for 90 minutes, and then he'll finally take care of business.
It seems like this is all the characters that maybe they were planning on, like, hey, once we get our feet under us at Marvel, we can start bringing some of these characters back. Maybe they had future plans for some of this stuff, but it was cool to see all these characters one last time.
Yeah. I'll read you. I'll go down this list real quick. Warstrike's Kingdom is Warstrike, Necromantra, Jamie Tark, Blind Faith, Casino, Lord Pumpkin, Mastodon, War Eagle, Dirt Devil, Outrage, Slayer, Pistol, Generator X, Ironclad, Foxfire, Quixote, Two Gun, Planet Class, and you mentioned him, and then Rush. And then Shuriken's Rebels are Shuriken, Prototype, Jimmy Ruiz, who got captured and dies in this issue. Solitaire, Sludge, Waver, Ripfire, Choice, Sweet Face, Arena, which I thought was pretty cool here in this issue, Fly Girl, Uriel, Tooth, Cayman, and this is the one person that actually has another link on the fandom page, Goku, and then Era, Boom Boy, and then Anything. So anyway, there you go. That's a list of supposedly all of the cameos that Malibu Comics database could find.
Well, they missed one unless you named him, which is Cut.
No, I did not name him.
And he's the guy with the red goggles or glasses or whatever. And I believe he gets ambushed by Uriel and the others. I only mention him because he is a character we talked about in Hard Case number 1. And either you or Evan asked, like, does he come back later? He was the Hollywood pretty boy that didn't like Hard Case and was trying to get him to go to the director and give him new lines and beef up his part. And one of you, he was going to come back. And he eventually came back with superpowers.
That's right.
I don't know if he ever fought Hard Case, though. I know he showed up in some Prime issues.
Okay.
And then Ripfire is another character that I kind of like. He was only in maybe one or two. I think he was in some Ultraverse premiere issues and maybe had a one shot, and then he shows up in this. But he's a cool looking character. He's got the shaved side of the head and long hair on the other side, which was a little more groundbreaking back then.
I would have loved to have had a haircut like that.
Early on, the gems seem to be anthropomorphized and become their own characters, which is something that happened recently with the Infinity Watch. There's a storyline that went through some annuals last year where the Infinity Gems possessed certain Marvel characters, and it was kind of similar to this. These gem-type characters are going to show back up in some of the, maybe in Rune. I know there's a lot of Infinity Gem stuff going on in the Rune book after Marvel takes over. That's probably where they'll come back into play. Okay. I'm not really sure. I did notice that when Sludge attacks Solitaire, maybe because Solitaire has the healing factor, he doesn't seem to affect him the way he affects most people. If Sludge grabs a hold of somebody's hand, it causes this super fast cellular generation where, like, it just really messes them up. Whereas, no ill effects from Sludge on Solitaire here. But
he seems fine.
But again, that's all I got. This was a confusing book. It had some cool stuff in it, and I liked seeing some of these Ultraverse characters probably for the last time. More than anything, it just confused me.
I mean, there's going to be some themes that pop up throughout these Infinity issues. One main theme is a fractal effect when the Nemesis wave hits. It looks like the picture is getting cubed out. That's going to pop up in some of these other issues. That's an effect that the Nemesis wave is going to have. Let's go ahead and pick a panel here for this first issue. Let me see here. I'll do the first one. So I'm going to take... They do have page numbers in this, but it's basically the fight between Shuriken and Necromantra. And she throws a shuriken and it hits her right in the eye. Pretty gruesome. She's shocked. She's got this shuriken in her face. They do a good job of making the whole panels red because that shuriken is buried deep right in her face. They aren't scared of pushing the line a little bit sometimes when it comes to violence with these issues. And I know when we talk the next time about the Rune issue, there is going to be violence on display within the first page. I'm taking shuriken to the eye. So what do you got?
I've got page 14, panel 5, which is Sludge going after Solitaire. He's got his hand over his face and is, kind of screaming at somebody.
All right. Yeah, it's
kind of a simple page, but I really like Sludge's design and it looks cool.
I don't know that I've heard Sludge talk very much. So is this pretty symptomatic, or is this pretty how he talk?
The accident has got him all like his head. He misspeaks a lot and calls stuff, like you stepped on my egg. Leg. He's got to correct himself. That's a theme where his accident has got his mind mixed up and he misspeaks a lot and stuff like that.
All right, there you go. That is Black September Infinity. Stay on the lookout for more Black September themed episodes all September long in 2025, right here on the Unspoken Issues podcast.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.